William Khan, and thank you so much for being here for Forum for Dialogue and Diplomacy. As you know, Forum for Dialogue and Diplomacy, our vision is to build stronger Pakistan-US relationship through community and civic engagement and positive dialogue. Our mission, the Forum for Dialogue and Diplomacy is an educational group. Its mission is to engage Pakistani Americans and all other key stakeholders through a series of dialogue, discussion, meetings, and lectures. These will focus on geostrategic, geopolitical, geoeconomics, geosocial, and geo-development needs of both Pakistan and the United States of America, with the goal of promoting socio-economic development, peace, and prosperity in the region and enhancing US-Pakistan relations. I'm going to ask Dr. Lagari to come and introduce the speakers. But before that, I would like to share a little about Dr. Lagari. And as you know, everybody knows he's a very well-known person. So Dr. Lagari is president of the Forum for Dialogue and Diplomacy. He has formerly served as senator and chairman of the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. Prior to that, he was professor of electrical and computer engineering at SUNY Buffalo and commissioner education at the United Arab Emirates. So I would like to call Dr. Lagari to the podium. And also we are honored today to have our counsel, Mr. Aftab Chaudhry. Thank you so much for being here. We have our chairman, Dr. Barka Charania. Thank you so much for being here. And the podium is yours.
And the Deputy Consul General also.
And the Deputy, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you very much. You know, we go through these seating problems, so we make a lot of mistakes, so I hope you will forgive all of us for that. But one thing you should not forgive us if we are not punctual and we are not disciplined, because we always, this is basically our fifth talk in our series. We've had a talk every 2 months. We started the forum roughly about a year back. And in our first talk, we had Ambassador Sada Kambar. Then we had Stephen Payne, who was a lobbyist for Pakistan. Following him, we had the Consul General Abrar Hashmi, who was actually leaving back to Islamabad and to Nepal. So we wanted to learn from his experience also, the number of years that he had served out here. And now we are, of course, very lucky that we have an equally dynamic Consul General amongst us today also, that we will share his comments also regarding the relationship. And then finally, 2 months back, we had our fourth speaker, who was Professor Jason Brownlee from UT Austin, who also spoke about the geopolitical things that are happening out here in the region. So, like I said, we do not want to waste much more time. Mariam has been kind enough to introduce the objectives and the aims, the mission and vision of the organization. We have 4 speakers today, and all of them are of course, the idea here is, we always try to recognize people from outside Houston. So the goal here was, we got a lot of stars in Houston that we want to learn from them as well. And they never get an opportunity except, go up on stage and hand over a plaque to somebody, and people go to them and say, well, we need money, we need your sponsorship, we need your donations. So this time we would like to hear from such people out at this forum. So let me introduce you Dr. Asif Kadir, who is going to be our first speaker. Dr. Kadir is a clinical assistant professor at the Baylor College of Medicine and a fellow for cardiovascular surgery and fellow of the American Professional Wound Care Association. Dr. Kadir is not only an accomplished poet and author of 10 literary books, but he serves on many boards and has chaired many professional, literary, and cultural organizations in the US and Pakistan. He comes from a family in which his father was a professor and principal of King Edward Medical College, and his mother also was a professor of English at Lahore College for Women. But it doesn't stop here. Even his grandfather, Munshi Ghulam Qadir Fasi, was a renowned literary figure and author of more than 50 books. So, Dr. Asif Kadir, please.
Thank you.
I I'll give you about 8 minutes.
Okay, we are time constrained, but first of all, thank you very much, Ladari Sahib, for this introduction. And I know you are very punctual, and we know that the audience is thin. I don't know whether there is any correlation to that or not, but we historically don't come on time. Honorable Consul General Ladari Sahib, thank you for your being here. Deputy Consul Shah, our legend Barkat Jarania Sahib. When I was nothing in this town, he was running this town, and we know that. And we have Harun Sheikh Sahib, Javed Ashir Sahib, and to my good surprise, we have Mustafa Sahib also, Farah, our attorney in the city. Today, question is that diplomacy and using diplomatic efforts to develop Pakistan. And if you see, right from 1947, the relationship between Pakistan and America has been good. They have their high and lows. But there has never been an instance where the friendship has gone out of the way. There was time we had extremely good relation. Now we have good relation. But we never went to a relation out of relation. So today we can summarize that Pakistan and America relation are a complex relationship. And it is because there's so many things moves around. And we already know that in diplomatic world, nations have their interests. We call friendship, but basically it is the interest of one nation to another which brings them closer to each other. So it would be very wise that if we have to move forward, which is the topic of tonight, that we find those common things. Even Quran is mentioned. Get drawn to those things which are common among yourself. So somebody has to articulate what are the common things in America that America wants in Pakistan, which is an American interest. But we also have to see what is sovereign country. Pakistan has their interest and what is common for them, which is common for America. And the only thing which comes to the number top, that America wants peace, peaceful stability in the world. They want economic growth. They want American influence to go. And they don't like disruption and terrorism. So the first topic is in the interest of America to have counterterrorism under control. Guess what? Pakistan's also problem is, in order to bring prosperity and stability in the region, they also need counterterrorism. So this is one area which I think is common. Well, everybody knows about that. But we need to find out today, what is the mechanism that America can do or Pakistan can do to reach that goal? That is more important, because how do you move forward? And I think in order to do so, we should focus on strengthening the trust between both of us. That is a very important thing. And in order to do so, the biggest thing we can share between each other is the trust and the intelligence sharing with each other. Because without that, you can't control the war in turn. And in order to do that, you have to have joint military exercises. It's very important to do that, both in order to control that. And in order to enhance that, you have to develop the capacity to handle this kind of a massive war and terror and intelligence and counterterrorism. This is one part that you can do it. And we need to get engaged. It's the interest of both sides. And I think both countries at government to government level can work it out. And I think we should play a role, if we can, towards that goal. The second thing is the war and terror cannot be controlled unless there is a stability in the country. And in order to bring the stability, you got to have an economic stability in the country. And for that, you need to develop a technique where you can stabilize a country. Now you say, how do you stabilize a country? By giving aid? No. You increase the trade of that country. America is #1 trade partner of Pakistan. We know that. So we increase the trade capacity of Pakistan. If there is a tariff or tax, then we need to get a status where such tax is relaxed so that the productivity goes up. So this is one way you can easily overcome the concept of increasing trade. Pakistan has a lot of trade to offer, and for that trade you need economic assistance to those people who do this trade, these industries. And for that, if there is possibility of foreign investors investing them in products in Pakistan, that can, for example, Mustafa will tell you the energy crisis we have. Today, America has more LNG, more cheap than anywhere in the world. These technologies can be taken there, or you can directly get LNGs. And guess who will make money? America will make money because it is available here. It gets cheap in Pakistan. Same is with biofuel. If sugarcane is used as biofuel, it can sell for $45. If you use it as sugar, it will be $15. So I think there are technological advances where you can enhance the economy. So what happens when these technology and export happens? More employment and then more prosperity, and basically you come to more stability. I am just trying to highlight the things which most of you know about it, because our audience today is a well-educated. Then one thing very close to my heart, educational and cultural. 7 universities in the United States are #1 top university. We can have the scholarships, student exchange, cultural events, people-to-people diplomacy. One other thing I've seen, the second largest doctors coming from Pakistan in the United States is Pakistan. Pakistani doctors are the 5th largest healthcare giver in this country. They are dependent on us. Years ago, these numbers were not there, but today we have second highest doctors influx here. So education culture is very good because it brings people to people. It reduces the barrier. And of course, at diplomatic level, both sides has to sit down to find their concerns, do more policy, characteristic policy, all policy you can sit down on a table and discuss and see. I would like to take any questions. At least I have 10 more points to tell you where we can do more diplomatic. But today we're going to stay to the timeline. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saab. We just have to keep moving. My second speaker, of course, needs no introduction. Everybody in Houston knows Siraj Darsi. Usually you see him on stages becoming the MC or introducing speakers, but this time I would like to introduce him. He's never been introduced on stage. He's an entrepreneur and a business finance consultant. He has a master's degree from UT Austin and an MBA from IBA Karachi. Previously, he has taught at IBA Karachi and has had senior management and governance positions in the Arakan Development Network in Pakistan and Tanzania, involved in various areas of human development such as health, education, rural development, women's empowerment, and environmental advocacy. I can go on and on, but please, Siraj.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Lahari. Wonderful audience today. Small number, but people of substance. All the bigwigs of Houston are present here. Thank you so much. The subject is Pakistan-US relationship way forward. It indicates that there is a pause. That's why we need to discuss the way forward. And rightly so, there is a pause in some ways. I'd like to stick to the subject in a kind of an academic fashion. US-Pakistan relationship has always been based on some sort of conflict. If you see the history starting from 40s, 50s, and 60s, the Cold War, and then the Afghan War, and 9/11, and another Afghan war. And Pakistan has tremendously benefited from that. Because both countries have served each other's interests. Obviously, there has been ups and downs. But today, the circumstances are a little different because the conflict in our immediate region has now ended, and therefore interests have shifted. If you are familiar with what's happening in G20, probably today or last night, President Biden, along with MBS and Prime Minister Modi, they announced a major counter infrastructure development project to China's Belt and Road Initiative. That tells us a lot that the geopolitical dynamics in our immediate region are shifting, maybe to the disadvantage of Pakistan. And therefore, we need to look at other dimensions for what's our way forward between US and Pakistan. And I'm taking a totally different approach. I'd like to present some statistics. Pakistan is the 5th largest country in the world based on population, about 240 million plus. 40% of our population is under the age of 15. That's a huge number. 5th largest in the world, and a big chunk of that 5th largest population is less than 15. Only 3.7% of our population is 65 or over. So that means almost 96% is in the workforce or capable of being in the workforce. We have witnessed increasing urbanization in Pakistan, but declining literacy rate over the last few years. 46th is the rank of Pakistan in the global economy based on nominal GDP, but GDP per capita, we rank 157. And on Human Development Index, 161 amongst the birth of the nation. 19% of our GDP is industrial, 22% is agriculture, rest is service. We export $35 billion a year, 21% of that goes to the US, our largest trading partner. The next is China at 7%, US 21%, China at 7%, and China is our all-weather friend. So what do these numbers tell you? To me, this is a huge market as far as the US is concerned. 5th largest country in the world with a huge number of young people who, if educated well, could be the educated workforce for America, for the rest of the world. So to me, that's the dimension for the way forward. America has to invest in Pakistan, looking at it as a potential market that it can benefit from. We don't want America to be a benevolent brother. Just look at it purely from a capitalistic point of view, because America is a capitalistic country, and there is a huge market potential if developed right. So there are several dimensions if you look at it from an economic development point of view. First of all, as I said, we have a young population, but our literacy rate is declining. So that requires investment in education and skill development. If Pakistani young people are educated well, they benefit not only Pakistan, but they benefit the world, because guess what? We are one of the largest manpower exporter in the world. In fact, Pakistan was one of the pioneers in the 70s by sending its workforce to the Middle East. There was a time when you go to the Middle East, you wouldn't find any other foreign worker other than Pakistan. Much of the Middle East was developed by Pakistani engineers and Pakistani workers. Much of the healthcare system in the Middle East was developed by Pakistani doctors. So the airlines were developed by Pakistan. Those have become successful. So we have a history, and there is no reason that we cannot repeat that again, only if we can channel our people in the right direction, and the American investment in that direction can benefit not only America and Pakistan, but the rest of the world. Industry. Our industry is severely inefficient. And if proper investment is made in improving the efficiency of the industry by employing new technologies, innovation, the industry will benefit, employment will increase, and obviously exports will increase. And guess what? If America is our biggest trading partner, America directly benefits from that. Agriculture, again, like industry, the agriculture in Pakistan is also very inefficient because we haven't always utilized the best technology available. Whereas America has been a global leader of efficiency and productivity as far as agriculture is concerned. America has become a global leader by investing in agriculture technology. Now, America did play that role in Pakistan in the 50s and 60s. I'm a product of the Institute of Business Administration set up by USAID in Pakistan in 1950s. Jinnah Postgraduate Medical Hospital was also established by, with the help of America. The Faisalabad Institute of Agriculture was also established under the USAID program. So there are examples where American investment has helped Pakistan build infrastructure, build capacity. So I guess we need to go back to those fundamentals now that the whole global dimension has changed. One final thing that comes to my mind is Pakistan is rich in mineral resources, we all know that. But we haven't done enough to exploit those resources to our benefit and for the benefit of the world. You know, copper, we are the 7th largest reserve holder in the world. And copper is a metal that is very much in demand globally. So these are some of the areas where, purely from an economic development point of view, I see a potential for US and Pakistan to find a new way forward and not really necessarily base it on the conflict around the region that has historically been the case, but find new ways that are people to people, that are based on economic development, that are based on skill development, that are based on cultural and social development, and find a new dimension. And if we are able to do that, it will serve the interest of both the countries. Because at the end of the day, we have to be able to serve each other's interests. That's what matters. Now, conflict will always be there. In the U.S. foreign policy, Pakistan's own concerns about, our neighborhood, tension in our neighborhood, that will always be there. But if Pakistan is economically strong, then Pakistan will be able to negotiate this new dimensional relationship based on strength. Right now, our biggest handicap is that we have lost the economic strength that we once used to have, while at the same time, because at the end of conflict, we have lost our strategic significance also. So both countries need to realize that this is not the end of the game. Dynamics have changed, but when one set of dynamics change or end, the other set of dynamics or opportunities always open up, and both countries would be wise to look for those dimensions, because again, Pakistan is the 5th largest country in the world and growing with a young population, and I think that's our advantage. And because we have that market potential, I think it is important that we seek that direction in our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Suraj. Asif Ali Bhatti is a PhD scholar. We all know he goes to UT Austin, and a senior journalist, very well known in Islamabad circles. He's a writer, he's an anchor, he's a columnist, and he has been associated with the Jung Geo Group, both in Pakistan and the USA. In Pakistan, he is also taught as an associate professor in a number of universities, including the National University of Modern Languages, the Foundation University, and the National University of Science and Technology, the International Islamic University. So he is a scholar amongst us. He is also a research fellow with the South Asian Media and Cultural Studies at the Florida State University, Tallahassee. Mr. Asif Bhatti.
And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and especially this forum, which is not important but also playing a very vital role to bring both countries on one platform to share their knowledge and understanding about the relationship. It is my great privilege that I'm being called by Dr. Lagari. And this is not the first time I'm here. Before, I think when he started this journey, I was attendee of the first session. And since then, I'm following him. And due to my different activities, as he just mentioned, I couldn't find time to collaborate or to mix up with all kinds of gatherings, whatever he's organizing. But this is the time that we should take initiative. As my fellows already informed you that there is a stop sign, or to some extent there is a pause. That's why we are talking about the relationship of both countries that should be revitalized or re-engage themselves on different forums. And especially this diplomacy forum can play a very vital role to bring people from the both sides to hold some kind of engagements, because I covered these all issues from last 27 years as a journalist, and I witnessed John Kerry's consecutive visits and so many other senators. They were used to visit Pakistan during the last couple of years. We were having a very good relationship, to be honest, and without the realization that what our neighboring countries are doing or what is happening in your neighboring country. Beside that, after the Soviet war, everybody knows what is the history, and then the Afghan war, what happened. I also covered that war on terror in the last 20 years. I witnessed so many things. I met with the NATO chief, and they called us in Kabul to give us the briefing, what is happening. And everything was going very smooth, and so you know what happened in 2020. So it was in my also one of the theses that it's a very difficult terrain in that region, that it would be very difficult to win that war, and especially the enemy which has no face, and you do not know the ways and means also. But still, we appreciate to both countries that they vigorously fought that war. Pakistan contributed, to be honest, a great contribution, lost 75,000 people, and I think $7 billion loss in terms of their infrastructure, and then also so many other problems we faced. But the dilemma is that the realization here in Washington remained very, I should not use any negative word, but to some extent, they didn't realize that what Pakistan is facing they are going through. And especially our youngsters, we have 65% of youth. And we have a very strong country in terms of our resources. And we have also the regional, where we are right now, that is a very important region. We are connected with all the countries, all the nations, those are living aside. And that's why we are important. Unfortunately, are some political leaders, and because I'm a journalist, so I should give you the clear picture that decision making is very important. And when you are at the helm of affairs, when somebody is trusting you, you should take correct steps and also take good decisions. That should be not only in the favor of somebody else, but also in your favor. Hence, I must say that both countries enjoyed a wonderful relationship. But during the last past 5 to 6 years, no engagement at the highest level, unfortunately. And after previous government, which was dissolved earlier before their timeline, it was good beginning. And then Prime Minister visited the United States. I also witnessed myself that he was being well taken care here by the then President of the United States. But what happened? There was something which went wrong, but we didn't consider that. In my view, still we are not late. I have information for you people. Just yesterday I got to know that we are having a wonderful dialogue happening in this UNGA session. The Prime Minister, interim Prime Minister, is coming to Pakistan, coming to the United States. And very first economic developmental initiative will be taken. And in that way, IMF will play a very vital role. And I also got to know that this engagement would, pave the way for the betterment of Pakistani, this economic meltdown situation. And I must say here that we need to correct few things which are essentially important. Most of the time we have military engagements, both sides of the military leadership are engaging at certain levels. It should be more on the political side. And as the United States have a great attitude towards the countries like South Asian countries like Pakistan, their major concern is the political development, democracy. And now I got to know that just 3 days back there was a very important session in Washington DC, and they conveyed this message to Pakistani powerful people, that you should hold elections, on-time elections, and it should be fair also. And everybody should get a chance to actively participate in that process. Second, we have the depression situation on big economy. Now, the powerfuls again, they are trying to bring $100 billion investment in Pakistan. But how is it possible? You are talking to Dubai, you are talking to Qatar, you are talking to Bahrain, you are talking to KSA. But do you think that it would work? Because we are hearing this from last many years. But United States can do that. So that's why I'm just telling you this story which is happening in the same month, by the end of this month, during the UNG session, that we have 3 areas: mineral development, the second is the infrastructure, like agricultural infrastructure, and the capacity building, and the third one is your military and the police capacity building. The United States is already engaged in that, and we hope that the United States will also play a very important role to curb this new extremist wave which is prevailing in the region. and they will re-engage themselves to abolish such kind of activities. I'm really honored. I once again congratulate this forum that they hold this very important session. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry I lost my timer because Papa John's was calling. They were asking for directions to the library. So I had to send Mariam out.
That's why you gave me 8 minutes only.
Okay, so well, now we have Dr. Humayun Mirza. I'm sure a lot of people who are going through the pain of heart know him very well, and obviously also Dr. Asif Kadir. He's a clinical associate professor at the Baylor College of Medicine. He's a highly decorated cardiologist with Young Investigators Award and the Presidential Award from the American College of Cardiology. He has also served as a board of trustee for the HCA health system. He is active in community service, including with the Islamic Society of Greater Houston, and serves as chair of CAPSA, an organization dedicated to education and information of public across all divides regarding their civil and political rights and responsibilities. Dr. Mirza, please.
So thank you, Javed, for that introduction. I'm going to differ from most of the speakers you've heard. I'm going to play devil's advocate in a way. I'm going to say it's going to be very difficult to predict what or how the relationship between Pakistan and the United States will evolve from today or from now. And that's because most of the relations between nation states are governed by quote-unquote mutual strategic interests and also security concerns, economic interests. And I want to show you that you have two totally disparate societies. Where would you find convergence of interests? So let's look at the United States of America. It's by and large educated, it has democratic norms, it's economically developed. Its citizens are beholden to the word of the law. If, right from the top office to the lowest cadre, if there's any deviation from their constitutionally defined role, there's a penalty. Now let's look at Pakistani society. Primarily tribal, despite a constitution, power prevails. As far as education is concerned, you have a 99% literacy rate in the United States, but based on your ability to be able to write or read a full sentence. Whereas in Pakistan, it's a 58% literacy rate based on your ability to sign your name. So there's disparate definitions there. Now, on the other hand, economically, you have a very developed country versus a country that's at its lowest nadir in its history at this point, economically. That's Pakistan. So where do you find convergence of interests based on these two disparate populations, these two disparate societies? So we, as Pakistani diaspora here, have to make a case for Pakistan. Because I don't think Pakistani society has evolved to that stage where it can fend for itself. I don't think they know what connection, communication, relations between two sovereign states means. Because the relationship between Pakistan and the United States has always been a client-customer relationship. And that has to change. But the change cannot come from a society that's deprived of education, that's deprived of political rights, that's deprived of economic status. It has to come from somewhere else. And I feel that the diaspora of Pakistan in the United States primarily is singularly placed to play that role. Because they are of Pakistani origin, yet they are aligned to the democratic principles and the principles of life in the United States. They're the people that perhaps the United States population can most easily relate to. And similarly, vice versa. So I feel that in today's day and age, we here need to play that role. Now, what can we give the United States? Now, like I told you, it's either a client-customer relationship, and that's not tenable anymore, because Pakistan is slowly undergoing a change. There is a political awakening, despite what we see, and I think the center of power will sooner or later shift from its present place to where it belongs, to the representatives of the people. I think America has a role here to play a mentoring relationship in this. It's a democracy that has seen ups and downs, it has seen civil war, it has traversed that road and developed itself to a point where it's now looked upon by most people as the ideal democracy. So it has a mentoring role. How can that happen? Exchanges, educationally, culturally, politically, guidance in the right direction, and again, relations between nations depend on the relationship of the populations, not of the elite, not at a defense level. It has to come from within. The core of the people of one country and the core of the people of the other country have to have similar, identical morals, values, strategic interests. And I feel that the diaspora here is better placed to represent Pakistan than any of the people that represent Pakistan today, or yesterday, or the day before. So that's what I feel. Now, what does the United States have to gain from Pakistan? Pakistan is a country of almost 230 million, 240, maybe it'll be 250 soon. To have a bulwark of democracy of the same values and principles that America espouses and believes in, if you have a bulwark of those principles in that region, which is surrounded by countries like Iran, Afghanistan, the Gulf states, Pakistan then becomes a shining beacon of democratic norms in an Islamic society. We're not going to look eastward. India has its issues and India has developed. As you can see, the world views India differently from Pakistan now. India is now, because of its political stability and its economic status, has a different view in the eyes of the world, whereas Pakistan has regressed to the point where it's lumped with countries such as Afghanistan. So we have a responsibility towards that. And I think that I feel that if we miss the moment, there's going to be no turning back for another 50 years. I don't think in our lifetime we'll be able to see Pakistan as the country we envisage it to be, or we want it to be, we wish it to be, we pray that it becomes. So collaboration possibilities are endless. Pakistan, being a society that's economically deprived, will gain much from any country that's developed. Any association, any collaboration. But the United States also has the advantage here that the people of Pakistan are English speaking. Their second language is almost English. So they have, as opposed to, let's say, China or Russia, there is a communication. Communication plays a big role in the development of ties between anyone, whether it's two people, two nations, two countries, whatever. So I feel that America has an advantage there. And Pakistan has much to learn from American civic systems, American political systems, American educational systems. And we have to position ourselves in that way to be able to receive those without seeming as if we're a customer or a client. What else can the United States benefit from? Pakistan's manpower. 250 million in the scheme of things is not a small number. It's almost more than 2/3 of the United States, entire United States population. Most of them are young. They have aspirations. They have the will to move forward, as opposed to people who are over 60. They're on the dwindling side of life. So Pakistan can give the United States a lot, more than what it believes. America needs to look past its tangible strategic interests. And I'm using the word tangible strategic interests because for America, tangible strategic interests include the nuclear capability for Pakistan, security concerns. But America has to look beyond that. There are so many intangibles that if they're explored, once again, like I said, if Pakistan becomes a beacon of democracy in that region, what better security guarantee for the United States than that?
Absolutely.
The possibilities are endless. I only wish Pakistan and the United States good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we will. Sorry. Dr. Is that yours?
Oh yeah, I won't be able to see much.
You should listen now. Well, we will open up the floor for about roughly 25 minutes, and Mariam will handle the question answer session here. So either you can make a comment, which should not be more than 3 to 4 minutes, or you can ask a question from any of the speakers. So we should have a microphone on the floor. Please raise your hand. And Nusrat, can you also help with this microphone with the people? Thank you. Yes. Okay, you got one only. Thank you.
It's on. Okay. Assalamualaikum, everybody. I won't mention the speakers, but it seems like only 2 of those 5 speakers spoke about democratic values. And just some brushed on it, and then I think the speakers went deeply into it. You know, my point is that how can you have economic stability and growth and progress without fundamental democratic values reformed and embedded in the people? And what I notice is that when we talk about diplomacy, it almost means like to be diplomatic is to kind of avoid hard, cold facts and kind of go around them and see if you can get to a solution. But I think the Pakistan conundrum is we can't do that anymore. I think we've been passing along the buck, kicking the can down the road, kind of avoiding some of the red flags that maybe for the last 20 years were there. I know they were very good people and nominal people that would maybe critique what's happening in Pakistan 20 years ago, 10, 15, and would be seen as either unpatriotic or unsavory allies. And I think this is a time where Pakistanis will have to make that change within themselves. But I 100% agree that diaspora is the key. For me, what I've seen as someone that's very much involved more in American politics is for the first time I see Pakistani Americans asking me, who is my senator, who is my congressman, and why is it they're not listening to us? And I'm like, I have this shirt that says, and did you vote? Like, when was the last time you just voted?
Thanks. I don't know if this is on or not. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Javed had warned me that I can't go over time, so I briefly touched upon it. I honestly think that's what I said, that the relationship has to be built between the 2 peoples, not the elite, not the defense personnel. And for that to happen, Pakistan has to have a representative government in place. A government that reflects the aspirations and wishes of its people, not of the few elite that's been happening over the last, however many years you want to count. So I absolutely agree with you, and I thought I dilated upon it, but maybe not enough to your satisfaction.
I also want to mention here that it's very clear. Dr. Lagari told me that we're not allowed to speak on the political issue or something like that, but I deliberately say, see the India, how Modi was received here. And where is your Prime Minister? So this is a very core issue which you just mentioned, that we should rely on our people. We should highlight that the core value of the people is important for every other country.
especially United States. And whenever we visited with the dignitaries here in the United States, before my arrival here permanently, as you just said, the Ladakh ka ek lafz bada, it's very common now. Whenever you are speaking from your heart, or you are mentioning ground realities while in writing, I personally face so many, I cannot mention. But having said that, there is still space that we should highlight those all issues which are relatively important for the people of Pakistan. And this dialogue should continue on the basis of political system. And the election, just I mentioned in my speech, that this is the only reason probably that the United States realized that there are the people. And that's why they're focusing that they should hold elections. Thank you. Thank you very much.
There's no question in my mind that democracy is embedded in the people of Pakistan. They have been able to exercise their democratic right for a number of reasons, a different matter. The democracy is embedded in the people of Pakistan, has been for a long time. There are ample number of examples of people's fight to restore and practice democracy. So, I didn't really touch upon it because it's a different, that issue has a different dimensions. Secondly, investment in education in young people and in economy automatically strengthens democratic forces. So that is a work in progress in my point of view.
Farah, it's not working.
It's not, you have to get it closer to you.
Okay. I think.
Okay.
Farah raised a question of human rights, democracy. America is a champion of democracy. He has never shy of telling a democratic process any country, anywhere in the world. They have a record for that. You ask the White House, you ask the State Department, they are for democracy. But they are also for the human rights all over the world, whether it's in China, in Pakistan. So America's stand is there. But where do you start on that? It's stressing by concern, by sitting down, telling to each other. When you talk of democracy, you talk of human rights in Pakistan, automatically nuclear proliferation comes on the table. Because that's a concern. Because a part of concern. When you go there, that you become a people-centric policies. Healthcare. You become to healthcare. Then you become prioritize the collaboration in an area which is the industrial development. So all these things go hand in hand. You just can't say, okay, the human abuses, that has to be addressed. If they are occurring, the infrastructure, the healthcare, and so many things has to be addressed in order to have a country economically viable, where a democracy can flourish. You can't have a sham democracy just for have election and electables who are controlling the land for lifetime of Pakistan. You don't see Pakistan a democracy what you see here in democracy. Here a democratic person, if he has gone to jail, has never been elected to any office in this country. Whereas in my country, from I came back, people from jail can still become president. So you have to change also there. These are concerns that the rogue element does not come in power through the democracy. So I think issue is trust, issue is sitting down with each other, issue is not only human rights and democracy. There are strategic interests in the nation has to sit down and talk about it in order to have a prosperous Pakistan.
Basically, this is not a question, this is a suggestion on the continuation of what Farah said. First, we have the responsibility to involve in political process here. And that is the basic to vote for local elections here. We have in this room 2 examples that they lost. One lost with 33 votes and one lost with few hundred votes in Fort Wayne County. So we need to work on this important issue to realize the whole community that voting, whoever you wanna vote, Republican, Democrats, Independent, but please go out and vote. So this is my suggestion.
Thank you. Anybody would like to answer? I have one in the back over here. And I'll come back. Yes. And I will tell after that.
But this has been,
Yeah, just speak very close.
this has been a wonderful presentation here. Very, we all learned a lot, so did I. I have a question really. The question, I think maybe Sanarsi, you should be starting. One thing which disturbed me quite a bit, and I didn't realize this was happening, you see, literacy is declining. And if 58% literacy is just signature, that's not even reading and writing. So what is literacy? That is even lower than that. And then there is a talk about economic disadvantage. You know, economic disadvantage comes with education. So if the education is declining, how can it is expected that economic advantage will emerge? So that is what is there. Is anything being done over there? For example, if there is a think tank, there are universities. In a think tank, they come together and they come up with some policy and advise government. Now, whether the government takes it or not, that's a different thing. But isn't that something like this needs to be done? Because if there is economic disadvantage, literacy is going down, how can America really have a technical collaboration and learning from each other because it's down? Take China, wasn't a democratic country, but where is China now? So there are examples of these things, education and technology.
I think the answer and question is loaded together.
Or you can.
It's a very important question, but it takes us to a different dimension. The subject is way forward to Pakistan-US relationship. But your question takes us to really Pakistan's domestic issues. And I've been saying this for at least 25, 30 years, that Pakistan's biggest problem is not democracy, is not this, that. Pakistan's biggest problem, in my humble opinion, is population growth, which is why the literacy is declining. I'll give you one simple example. If this is the land mass of Pakistan, it can only produce so much for a number of people. But that number of people continues to grow, and this land mass and its production capacity either is constant or is declining. If you go to various, as I said, urbanization is on the rise. There is a trend of converting cultivable agricultural land into housing schemes and plazas and whatnot. So the biggest threat to Pakistan's survival is population. Now, coming to literacy, we have almost 22 million children of school-going age out of school, and they continue to rise. I'm just throwing a number for example. If 1,000 children are born in Pakistan every day, we are not, whether government or the civil society, we are not establishing schools for 1,000 children every day. We are not establishing social services, health, other, for 1,000 children every day, right? So this number continues to rise. Regardless of what's the definition of literacy, is the percentage continues to decline, and the single reason for that is our population continues to grow. Our fertility rate is like in excess of 3%, one of the highest in the world. And we don't seem to really care much about it.
And we don't spend too much money on education because we have other priorities. And now the situation is really, really gone bad because we're struggling to survive. You know, we've been at the verge of default for almost a year now. So it's a totally different dimension, and I don't really think that there is any simple answer to that.
Thank you. Harun sir.
Turn it on.
नहीं उसके साथ आई थिंक बैटरी
अच्छा, okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You can hear. Ji, Assalamualaikum. First of all, let me comment each and every one of the speakers. Trust me, you have touched every single that is touching to the heart. Amazing, amazing future forward. No question. Everyone is speaking. Second thing, that unfortunately, no one addressed what's blocking. What's blocking Pakistan going forward? None of these people, I'm sorry, address that. I've been in Karachi, in Pakistan, for 3 straight times. I've seen it myself. I just came back a month ago. What I've seen on the street is not on the books. It's not on TV. It's not in the newspaper. It's all censored. Right? Everything is censored, whatever the Department of Censorship allows it to happen. I need to go, walk, see. It is terrorism, gun violence, street fights, and the citizens are scared to even go. I have, mashallah, 4 brothers, very well businessmen, established. The customers there don't want to go to home because they're threatful. My daughter lives there, my wife and I was there. We got 3 times on the gun. Driving with my driver. We were chased. I stuck in my home. I said, I don't want to go out.
This trip?
Life.
This trip?
Yes. Life is more important than all the democracy and stability and everybody is talking about. Did we talk about terrorism? Do you know what is happening on the street? It's horrible. I'm an eyewitness. I think we need to first address what is terrorism, how to handle them. Everybody, I've been in Karachi. I mean, the streets were full of foreigners shopping around with their skirts. Nobody talked about, I'm sorry to say that, Maulvism. That is misguiding. And I'll give you an example. I don't want to go speech. I'm just telling you the example. The pretty large-sized mosque with maybe 500 people sitting for Jummah period in the khutbah. I was there. Mr. Maulvi saying the Sept, the first sky, पहला आसमान जो है वो 3,500 किलोमीटर पे, दूसरा 7,000 किलोमीटर पे, और जो 7वां आसमान है जो अल्लाह और फरिश्ते जन्नत के वो 7वें आसमान पे. Exactly. I wish I could record, but I didn't record it. 35,000 kilometers. I was going to say, sir, the moon is 250,000. Man is sitting there. I mean, I just tell you, I think we need to do, I'm sorry to say, all these 80,000 madrasas that General Ziaul Haq got the money from Saudi Arabia and graduates of that. What I saw is about everybody with the big daddy, with just walking around, and I saw the joblessness there. Unbelievable. On every single street, families, they don't have home, sitting there, kids, about 4 years, don't have food to eat. Let's talk about that. Forget about stability and going forward and everything else. At our home, we have issues. We don't talk about it. We just take our face away and we don't know. This is the fact.
Thank you.
This is the fact.
We just have 4 more minutes.
There is no answer, I'm sorry.
Yes, Chandra sir.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. We have maximum 4 minutes.
Harun Sahab, I think that those were very relevant comments which you made. I particularly enjoyed Dr. Saab's presentation where he said all is not rosy and glowing the way some people like to say. I think most issues were addressed except religious fundamentalism. And I see what happened in Jarawala very recently, we all know about. And even the bravest of our leaders, there are many in this room, Farah, I think, is there or she's left. I'm surprised that she did not have a free Imran Khan t-shirt. But Imran Khan, bold they say he may be, when Atif Mia, our most prominent economist, was appointed to the Economic Advisory Council, Imran Khan withdrew that decision because he was Ahmadi. The power of the Maulvis, the power of the religious fundamentalists is so high. When I went and worked in Pakistan a few years ago, early in my term, there was a strike by Maulvis which forced the Nawaz Sharif government to dismiss the law minister at that time. The Maulvis were able to force the federal government to remove a sitting law minister. So powerful is the religious lobby. Just a few weeks ago, the university where I served, Qaid-e-Azam University, hosted a religious festival for Hindus. The widespread condemnation in the media, what kind of people are we? The white in our green and white flag has been completely eradicated, where Hindus cannot have their religious traditions, or their young teenage girls in Sindh are forcibly converted to become Muslims. If we are to have a relationship with the United States, we must first and above all be civilized. And there are any number of examples. Terrorism, which Harun Bhai talked about. Corruption, of course. Siraj talked about the population explosion, which our good friend Dr. Perez Hudpai, who was here a few months ago, he had a whole article on that, about our growing population. And no, it's not 1,000 a day. 2.5% growth is 5 million people in a year. We have an extra 5 million people whom we have to feed, whom we have to educate, to whom we have to provide jobs. So if you look at the enormity of the problem that we face, physician, heal thyself. We have to first take care of our own problems before we can ask why the US does not support us.
Thank you. Dr. Saab, we'll have you as a speaker next time.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to say anything. I just wanted to say, because the scope of the topic was so narrow, we were forced not to touch upon a lot of topics that we could have, and you know, it's just endless. That's why. Otherwise, yes, the passions within us are similar.
Yeah.
I'll make the topic was very clear as to what to talk about. So a lot of the comments are, but of course we feel all like that.
Yeah.
So we are commenting.
So I'll make one quick comment.
thing I want to say,
Yeah.
and I want to ask the audience to say, if there is hunger, if there is disease, if there is joblessness, wouldn't that kind of an atmosphere, what you saw, will nourish it? As opposed to, there is no hunger, there is no disease, there is prosperity, there are jobs, there is education, and economic stability. Would you find the same situation what you saw? No. So you come to the basic thing. Yeah, I mean, you got to see, developing a nation, you need a political will. Political will comes from your inside. And insight comes with it when you have common interest because you're in a global market.
Yeah.
And I can give you one example. गन्ना है ना गन्ना, गन्ने के वहाँ चीनी बनाते हैं. When they cut ganna, they lift this much area. The biggest power of nourishment and sucrose is in that ganna. And when they cut the ganna, they keep it in the market because they want to press this guy who has it so he should come down. वो 4-5 दिन जो रहता है ना, the chemical inside the ganna changes and its vitality goes 50% down. So you are bringing your own yield 50% down. अगर आपको एग्रो फार्मा में ऐसी टेक्निक्स मिलें या ऐसी मशीनरी मिले जिससे आप गन्ना नीचे से काटे, आपकी प्रोडक्टिविटी 35% बढ़ जाएगी, जल्दी से आप उसका निकाल लें, देन आई मीन सेम पीपल, सेम गन्ना with the innovative from a developed country, you can make much more money, which is prosperity to Pakistan.
Thank you, Dr.
Think about that.
Sugar is not.
Okay, we'll have the discussion. We'll have all the discussion over pizza. That's why we have the pizza. But anyway,
एक मिनट दे मुझे।
एक मिनट, sir.
एक मिनट। देखिए, we had very clear prescription from Dr. Laghari not to go into US-Pakistan politics side of it. So we focused on way forward. But these questions are regarding domestic issues of Pakistan. It's got nothing to do with US and Pakistan relationship. I just want to say one thing. We have, as a Pakistani, we have deteriorated as a people over the last 20, 30 years. During the Tabdili period, everybody wanted Tabdili to be given to them on a platter, but nobody wanted to change themselves. We as a people, we don't want to pay taxes, we don't want to follow rules and regulations. Our value system has deteriorated, we don't want to work hard, we are no longer hard-working people. We've boxed ourselves into various religious boxes. So overall, we have declined and deteriorated as a people, and God help us.
okay, thank you. I just focus on.
No, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? I can give 1 minute. Mahfuz sahab?
Yeah.
No. Swati sahab? Akram? Bhatti sahab? Anybody else wants to?
I want to say one small
बोलने का
thing,
मैंने मौका नहीं
that
दिया.
Pakistan is going to be there for another 100 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people have told me, and a lot of scholars have told me, that it took America 200 and some number of years. I know within my lifetime, women were not allowed to vote. Not long ago, the black kids were not allowed to get into it.
And most of the development
And we are only, somebody
Thank you.
told me we are just.
Thank you, sir.
And 75 years is not much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We have also our friend here, Zakaria from Turkey. He must be thinking there is nothing different between Turkey and Pakistan. They have their own same political problems that we do. And they are going through the same persecution also. So anyway, I think let me just wind it up. I think it was a very limited time. Of course, we had a large number of speakers. There were a lot more questions that had to be asked, which we could not accommodate, of course, because of limited time. But the idea was to keep it short and sweet. And this is not the only one, but this is
No, round of applause for all.
So the idea is this is not the final word. You know, this type of discussions will continue, and that is the idea of the forum. And yes, you know, the issues that you have brought out, it doesn't mean today we were only focused on the US-Pakistan relations, but yes, we would certainly like to discuss issues, you know, that are of concern to the people, because we are the diaspora, we are the well-off people. We want to talk about education, we want to talk about health issues, we want to talk about technology, entrepreneurship, finance, you know, how we as diaspora living in this country can help people living in Pakistan, you know, because we can do a lot. For example, my field is education, particularly higher education, which is also Javed Ashraf Saab's. You know, we can bring the universities together between the Pakistani universities and the American universities, have them sign MOUs, collaborative agreements, get visiting scholars over. People can go on sabbaticals out to those countries or even on short visits. We can arrange conferences. That is typically there. Literacy, of course, at the lower level, which is at the social, you know, at the school, primary, secondary level, of course, is a major problem. Somebody pointed out, of course, Siraj said 56%, Dr. Himayu Mirza said the same thing. The number does not increase. Reason is we only increase literacy by approximately 1% a year, while the population goes up about 3% a year. So that is why we go negative every time it falls back. If 56% is there, but if you look at the higher education, you know, because we are involved with that sector, do you know what that is? 12% at the post-secondary level. And if you want to compare Pakistan with, I'll just give you an extreme example, South Korea, 90%. The United States is 65%. This is the post-secondary education, which is like college, university, beyond high school. So we have a very long way to go. We have, you know, primary education, 20 million people kids out of school. Higher education, we have problems. Obviously, there are problems with health issues. There are lot of things. So I think we have to recreate the world. We have lost 76 years. So this is basically in a nutshell what would like to wind up. At this point, we are also very grateful and thankful that our Honorable Consul General is here, and I would like to invite him, and please come and share your views. Thank you.
Thank you.
Janab Charania Saab, Chairman, FTD, President Javed Lakhari Saab, and Honorable panelists. I had written, I don't write my speeches, but today I wrote. But now I kept it aside because the speakers and the questions, they were so informative and so with insight that I thought that I should speak on these points that they have given. And but also, if Dr. Javed Lakhari doesn't come and stands on my side.
You're always, between the food.
I will not stand between the food and you. I will try to be very, very precise. Yes, very wisely said that there are domestic problems. Population explosion, failing education, terrorism, extremism. These are the domestic problems. And no nation can punch beyond their weight. These count as a weight, and in diplomacy and international alliances, international relations, you cannot punch beyond this weight. Pakistan has this problem, and with that we can only succeed internationally. But as a topic very wisely suggested and very wisely chosen, way forward US-Pakistan relations. Everyone said, whatever they said, we can fix them in 2, 3, 4 areas. Let me tell you that international relations are based on alliances. And these alliances are based on interests and leverages. Just to give a hint, somebody was speaking about the democracy and US relations. Yes, we share these values, we cherish these values with the US, but remember, when was the best relationship between Pakistan and the US? What was those days? Just a hint. Next, very wisely, he is an oldest community member, Dr. Asif Khidr, and I have a lot of respect. He started that we have to talk about the commonalities, and the biggest commonality is the community. You people, we are not denying that there are the issues, but you people is the biggest commonality between the United States and Pakistan. The Pakistani diaspora, they can change the perception. For that, one very wise suggestion came from Murza Saab, that we have to take part in the politics. We have to take part, to be the part of the system here. It's always better to sit on the table and talk. And then you can talk about Pakistan, rather than just not to sit on the table and try to, it's good for the comprehension.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with all these problems, nobody suggests, and nobody wants, nobody says that we should not keep faith in Pakistan. We have to be more hardworking. We have to keep more faith with all these problems. And remember, once there are problems, only then you have to hold hand. And Pakistan and Pakistani people looks forward towards you to hold hands. Asif Bhatti, as being a journalist, he is always ahead of their time. He gave the good news that there is something going on for the UN session. I don't know and I can't comment, but he did the good thing. But I must say before Dr. Javed Lakhari comes and keeps me away from the, I can speak a lot. I have 10 pages of speech to speak about Pak-US relations, which I think everything is covered. Military cooperation and economic cooperation, I now will just give the hints of current situation. Before military, let's start with the economic. We had TIFA meeting, Trade and Investment Forum, after 8 years. We had 2 ministerial meetings covering health, medical, and we have even considered the center of disease being built in Pakistan. US has recently helped economically in IMF loan, and then further they are helping us, like Sajjad Asif Bhatti is told. Then educational and cultural, everyone is talking about that. We have 8,000 students, and these numbers are lesser than Chinese, Indians, or even Iranians. And we are talking to them. We are trying to enhance educational institutions collaboration, and we have talks with the US and with the universities. But Dr. Saab is more informed about those. We have some universities coming together. Last week we were in Albuquerque, and there we even talked about the University of New Mexico. So these things are in the process. Then somebody talked about the international politics, that Modi and President Biden and Saudi Arabian MBS is in India. So we have our own connectivity in the form of Sept. We are building on that, and we are inviting the nations, and we hope that US-Pakistan relations will not be seen through that prism. Since last year, we celebrated the dehyphenated Pak-US relations. So Pak-US relations will not be considered through these Pakistan-Afghanistan, Pakistan-China, or Pakistan-India. We will be building upon that. Counterterrorism, Pakistan even suffered a lot. Last 20 years, Pakistan being the most ally of the allies. There was a new term that was given to Pakistan. Pakistan has been the ally of the NATO forces and the US for the last 20 years. And this is more important for Pakistan than anybody or any country. Pakistan is part of that counter-terrorism efforts, and Pakistan is cooperating with that. And I think in the end, I just want to commend our panelists, very senior panelists. He said that it's just 75 years of Pakistan. Nations' ages are not determined in decades. It may take a lot. If we see what Pakistan was in the 40s, just to say Quaid-e-Azam, just after the creation of Pakistan, in an interview he said that US should come to enhance the cooperation with Pakistan. But it took 5, 6, 7 years. In '54, the first defense cooperation agreement was signed between US and Pakistan. So they will come. US-Pakistan relations will flourish. After 5, 6 years, when they saw their own interests, they came, and we had a good relations. But in 75 years, nothing more. We will build on that. What we need is your support, your faith, and we will try. We all should try to give better future to our coming generations. Thank you very much.
I'm the closest to the pizza, so I could get sorry. So, Dr. Barkis-Charania.
Thank you very much, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, our Consul General Sir and the panelists, our directors, and those who have attended this particular discussion. Our subject was, of course, US-Pakistan relationship, but it got descended into local domestic things a lot. And of course, it's a burning question there. So I don't see any reason why it would not go do that. And I think basically if it is there, it is the Consul General Sahib who represents the government of Pakistan here, and the government of Pakistan has to deal with it. Here, being a diaspora, I think we need to really work on something in which we can really help our country and help the improvement of the relationship with the two countries. One thing that I was told only last week by someone, the problem, since we're talking about the back home domestic things, it is the undeserved benefits enjoyed by people. In other words, corruption, dishonesty, you name it, that's the problem. And I think we need to really correct that. I'm sure CG sir will take a note of it. Here, of course, I would say in the 30 years plus that I've been here, I would say, I dare say, this is probably the 5th meeting in which we have talked in a way where we can understand each other, talk to each other rather than talk on top of each other. Most of the discussions that I've seen in the Pakistani forums, except one, the Qaeda Azam University about 2-3 years ago, Asif Qadi Sarkisi. That was the first one, and this is probably 4 more, where I've seen proper discussion in which people talk and listen rather than talk, and don't listen. Thank you again. Thank you for coming. And
You have to thank Harun sir.
Harun sir was there.
yeah, Harun bhai, of course, he has been the sponsor of this event, and he has been a sponsor of several events, in fact. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.